With Austin, Texas becoming alarmingly more expensive, and as we transition into 2022, we thought it would be a good idea to explore which parts of the greater Austin area are still at least relatively affordable. If that's the reason you clicked on the video, stay tuned because we're getting after it right now. Hello again, everybody. This is Frank with the team of agents at JB Goodwin Realtors. Each and every week we put out tons of new content about living in Austin, Texas, the good and the bad. So consider subscribing if you haven't already and ring the little bell to get notified whenever we put out a new video. In addition to that, we love the reach outs we get now every day from people just like you in need of our help when relocating to Austin, Texas. So keep them coming. Don't hesitate, whether you're 9 days away or 90. Go ahead and shoot us a text, send us an email, give us a call any day of the week. Any time of day. We've got your back when moving to Austin, Texas. So before we get into the most affordable places, at least relatively speaking, you can still find in the greater Austin area as it gets more expensive, I'm going to mention just a few disclaimers beforehand. One of which is the fact that I am not going to be going over every single place because that would really be a half-hour or an hour-long video easily. So obviously, I'm not going to mention the Westlake Hills with a median well into the millions. I'm not going to mention Dripping Springs with a median of $700,000 or $800,000. This is going to be about 10 of them, and maybe just a couple honorable mentions that didn't make the 10, just based on the median price points in the respective areas. Another disclaimer is that I really am just briefly going to be touching on each place on the list. So if you're wanting something more comprehensive and in-depth, we do have a number of longer videos dedicated to specific towns for everything you'll want to know before moving. And with those out of the way, let's get started. All right, for starters, as mentioned, I am just briefly going to touch on the two honorable mentions that ranked 11th and 12th on the list. I've got my trusty notepad for lefties here. So at 12, I've got Liberty Hill. They have a median home price of right around $550,000, about 45 minutes from downtown and about 35 minutes from Tech. And then at 11th place, I've got Cedar Park, Texas, suburbia at its finest at just around $500,000 median, 35 from downtown and about 20 from Tech. So it is very much in demand. But now at number 10, officially starting off the list is surprisingly Leander, Texas. And I say surprisingly because once upon a time, I do not think Leander would start at number 10. It would probably be in the top 5 of affordability, but things have dramatically changed. So a little bit about Leander. Right now, its median home price is right around $470,000. What brings a lot of people to Leander is going to be, first and foremost, the Leander Independent School District, arguably the greatest school district in the totality of the greater Austin area. Another thing is that Leander has announced plans for Northline, which is really going to be the Domain Part 2. In addition to that, they've got Leander Springs on the way, a 4-acre lagoon with restaurants and shopping. And Leander, Texas is going to be roughly, I'd say 30 to 35 minutes from downtown, factoring in a little bit of traffic, and about 20 minutes, maybe 25, maybe 15, depending on traffic, again, from the Tech corridor, if that is what's bringing you to the greater Austin area. Coming in at number 9 is going to be the very well-known and respected Round Rock, Texas. So a little about Round Rock, Texas is that right now its median home price is right around $460,000. And what I like about that is, for the longest time, Round Rock has been this suburban hub of the greater Austin area, the place people like to move if they don't want to be in the city. So you would think that its median home price would just dramatically increase, perhaps the way we've seen Leander's increase as of late. But what's cool about Round Rock is that, yes, obviously it's going to get more and more expensive with appreciation and things of that nature, but it's never really jumped in its median home price. So for a long time it was $400, for a long time it was $450, and now it's around $460. What I like about Round Rock is, again, a very, very well-respected school district, right on par with the Leander Independent School District. Even though the Round Rock Independent School District recently has gotten a little bit of controversy, politically speaking, which I won't really get into a whole lot on this channel, but it is a very well-respected school district. More about Round Rock is that it really is a city, of course, respectively, but it's the suburban hub, as I mentioned. It is the place you've got your big box stores, you've got IKEA, you've got the premium outlets, you've got Dell Diamond, you've got the largest indoor water park in the country, so it is a great place for families to plant their roots or people who are wanting to start a family in the future. Lastly, on the note of Round Rock, it is going to be about only 15 minutes from Tech, so a lot of people flock to Round Rock so they don't have to commute that far from the Tech corridor, and it's going to be a respectable 20 to 30 minutes from downtown Austin, depending on where in Round Rock you are. Most commonly about a half an hour. Moving right along to number 8 on this list, just north of Round Rock, you will find Georgetown, Texas. So as it currently stands, Georgetown, Texas has a median home price of right around $450,000. Now, what attracts a lot of people to Georgetown is that it has a comparable population to Round Rock, of course not as big, but about 90,000 people. However, it maintains this nice, quaint, small town feel. It's not necessarily going to be super rural, but it is going to lean a little bit more right, politically speaking. It's going to be a bit more traditional. The demographic is going to be a bit more mature. Not to worry, there's not going to be any, it's not like a hick town, nothing like that, but it is going to be a bit more slow paced, and its attractions are going to be a bit more nature based. It's easier to find some more acres in Georgetown as well, so it is a bit of a quiet, peaceful retreat, if you will. On that note, what works against Georgetown is its proximity to either downtown or tech. So Georgetown, factoring in some traffic, is going to be easily 45 to 50 minutes from downtown, and easily about 30 to 40 minutes with some traffic from the tech corridor. So it's wonderful if maybe you are employed in Round Rock per se, and you only have to commute that far. But if you're not working from home and you're maybe working corporate downtown, or as I mentioned in the tech corridor, that commute is going to be a bit of a pain. On to number 7 on this list, and this time just south of Round Rock, you will have Pflugerville, Texas. Now, what I like about Pflugerville is you are close enough to Round Rock, neighboring it actually, if you are employed in Round Rock. However, Pflugerville is south enough to where if you're working downtown, depending on where in Pflugerville, of course, you live, you could be 15 to 20 minutes from wherever you need to be downtown. Similarly with the tech corridor as well, another maybe 15 to 25 minutes. However, you could easily live in, say, northeast Pflugerville and be 20 to 30 minutes from downtown. So its size can be a bit deceiving, but it's good because not only with commuting in regards to work, but also things to do. So in Pflugerville, it has its own fair share of things to do, yes, but you won't be bored of things to do with downtown just a hop and a skip away, and Round Rock just a hop and a skip away. Now lastly, on the subject of Pflugerville, I'll mention its median home price as it currently stands is right around $430,000, which again, in addition to its proximity to the places I've mentioned, is a very attractive quality to Pflugerville. It's been well established now for a while, so it's not really going to pop or explode, say the way Leander is anticipating, but it's very nice and very well respected, and some decent schools as well. Moving on to number 6 on the list, the first place on the list as well that is actually going to be south of downtown Austin. And you'll notice a theme that most places, the more north you go of downtown, are going to be more expensive. But for number 6, we've got Buda, Texas. And what's interesting about Buda, Texas is that when you are leaving Austin, Texas, let's say heading towards San Antonio, Buda is the first city you encounter as you make your way away from downtown Austin. Buda hangs its hat on being the outdoor capital of Texas, with a number of places for fishing and hunting and things of that nature. So it is going to be a bit more rural. And Buta's median home price as it currently stands is right around $400,000, which now we're getting into the really affordable stuff, at least when compared to some of these other places throughout Austin, Texas that are just becoming outstandingly expensive. Now, with Buda, because you are south, your commute to downtown is going to be right around a half hour, which is comparable to a number of the other places more north. However, if you're going to be working in the tech corridor, because you're south, it's going to be about 45 minutes, factoring in a little bit of traffic. So just keep that in mind if you have your eyes on Buda and you're coming to Austin, Texas to join that tech workforce. Now, before moving on to the top 5 in this video, drop a comment down below, especially if you live in any one of them. Share what you like about it or what you dislike about it for anyone wanting to learn more. In addition to that, if we've been providing any value, consider liking the video as well. Remember to subscribe and share it with anyone you know who's wanting to learn more about living in Austin, Texas. All right, moving right along to number 5 on this list, we have Bastrop, Texas. Now, Bastrop, Texas is going to be east of downtown Austin, about 40 to 45 minutes from the city, and as well about 40 to 45 minutes from tech, so about the same distance either way. And in Bastrop, you have a median home price of $390,000. Now, what I like about Bastrop, Texas is that it kind of has always reminded me a little bit of Georgetown, Texas. It has a very charming downtown scene. It's very quaint. A lot of its attractions are going to be nature-based, very rural. And lastly, on the subject of Bastrop, backdrop, I'll mention with the $17 billion Samsung plant being built in Taylor and the Tesla plant in Austin, Texas, watch out for Bastrop kind of quietly becoming a boomtown for people who want to choose it versus some of these more expensive options in the greater Austin area. Up next at number 4 on this list is going to be Hutto, Texas. Now, there has been a lot of interest in Hutto, one of the main reasons being it's only about 35 minutes from downtown and only about 20 minutes from the tech corridor, while simultaneously maintaining a median home price of right around $380,000. Now, Hutto often gets compared to Leander, Texas, and in my opinion, it's really not going to pop the way I anticipate Leander popping. What's attractive about Hutto is that it has a nice trajectory. It is considered a boomtown in this industry, yet it's almost $100,000 cheaper on average than Leander, Texas. It has its own plans for its own shopping center called the Co-op as well. In addition to that, it has respectable schools, obviously perhaps not on the tier of Round Rock or Leander, but respectable, and something Hutto really has going for it is its safety. It really hangs its hat on its safety, one of the safest places to live, not just in Texas, but in the United States of America. All right, now kicking off the top 3 most affordable places you can still find to live in the greater Austin area, we have Manor, Texas. Now, what draws people to Manor, Texas is that it has a median home price of right around $360,000, and it's only about 25 minutes from downtown and about 25 minutes from tech, factoring in traffic. So it is very well located and it is relatively affordable when compared to much of the rest of Austin, Texas as a whole. Now, what I will say about Manor, Texas, as I keep it brutally honest on this channel, is that its school district, for example, still has a way to go. It's respectable, yes, but it's really not going to be in the top tier as many others in Austin, Texas are. In addition to that, its crime and safety as it currently stands is a little bit suspect. So that's something just to keep in mind. I don't think you're going to be sleeping with one eye open in Manor. It's not that dramatic or that horrible, but when compared statistically to other places in the greater Austin area, it certainly isn't a top. Now, what I will say in defense of Manor is that it is really in its infancy. The population is not that high right now, and so I believe, in my opinion, as Manor evolves and grows, its crime and safety, I think, will increase and it'll get a bit safer, in my opinion. And the school districts will follow suit. As any place in its infancy, some of these things are going to be questionable, but as it grows and as it becomes more established, it's going to be a bit of a better idea, at least in my opinion. Moving right along in this fast-paced video to number 2 on the list is going to be Kyle, Texas, another place that is south of downtown Austin. So if you picture it, if you're leaving Austin, Texas, heading south towards San Antonio, as mentioned, you are going to hit Buda first, but once you make your way through Buda, what's next is Kyle, Texas. Now, as it currently stands, Kyle, as far as its reputation, it still has this kind of getaway place. It likes its pies, you know, it's kind of quaint and small town. People like to use it for Airbnbs or just kind of passing through, which could be insulting for people who are locals there and they really, you know, like much more about Kyle, Texas. But as it currently stands, it's really not that big, it's really not that established or evolved yet, but it is relatively affordable as well, with a median home price of right around $350,000. Now, as mentioned, similar to Buda, Texas, you're looking at about 35 to 45 minutes from downtown Austin as a commute. And then if you're looking at tech, because it's even further south of Buda, your commute to tech looks like maybe 45 to 55 minutes on average. Now, don't get me wrong, Kyle, Texas is more than just having great pie and being a place for weekend getaways. However, what I'm getting at is as it currently stands, it just doesn't have a ton to offer. It's not going to be a Round Rock, it's not going to be a Leander, Texas for that matter. So just keep that in mind. But if that's your speed, and of course you're anticipating a lot of growth as all of Austin is right now, then it might be right for you. All right, coming in at number 1 last, and in this case certainly not least, we have Taylor, Texas. Now, what's amazing about Taylor, Texas is that it has a median home price of $310,000, which is, those are like San Antonio numbers. And yes, for those of you wondering, San Antonio is a much more affordable option than Austin, Texas. But I mean, my goodness, 310 in a surrounding area that is so easily 500s, 600s, 800s, millions, or even in the top of this list, you know, 470, or even the honorable mentions, 500s. 310 is just staggering. And the reason why is that of all the places I've mentioned on this list, Taylor is perhaps the least developed. I mean, you go to Taylor, Texas, and I'm not trying to be mean to it, but it's just so much land. It's just open, and all you're thinking is how different this is going to look in just a number of years. Because it really is a place that is untapped in terms of developments or communities or shopping centers, so keep that in mind. However, what is making Taylor, Texas pop up on everyone's radar is, as previously and briefly mentioned, Samsung's $17 billion chip plant that they are going to build in the heart of Taylor, Texas. So imagine the appreciation, imagine as the rest of the city's infrastructure is going to adapt to that, imagine the influx of people. So it's a bit of an interesting one, because if you go to Taylor, Texas right now, it's not necessarily the most amazing place in the world, but fast forward 5 or 10 years, it could look dramatically different. Lastly, on the subject of Taylor, Texas, I'm going to mention its distance from downtown, which is going to be right around 45 minutes and about roughly 30 minutes from Tech, as it is a little bit more east of the Round Rocks, the Georgetowns, the Mainers, the Huttos of the world. A bit more, not in the boonies, but a bit out there when compared to the rest of your options. So there you have it, and as mentioned, as you could probably tell, I really just breezed through those. So if there's anyone in particular that you're interested in, please check out the rest of our videos, as we've done a number of videos specific to different towns in the greater Austin area. And if any one of them happens to really resonate with you, that's what we're here for. So go ahead and reach out to us. Whether you shoot us a text, send us an email, give us a call, 9 days away or 90, let us help you relocate to Austin, Texas. In addition to that, we put out tons of new content each and every week about living in Austin, Texas, the good and the bad, so consider subscribing if you haven't already, and ring the little bell to get notified whenever we put out a new one. Comment down below with any opinions or questions, like it if we've been providing any value for you, share it with anyone you know, and until the next one, you guys, my name is Frank, this is Living in Austin, Texas. We will absolutely catch you later.